Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about this one, Case Canoe. This one is from 1976, I believe. It's hard to tell with the dots being obscured, but I looked in there once. Recently got it. It's definitely a user condition. I'm gonna go and try to get as close as possible so you can see here. Um, all in all, it's not in terrible shape. I bought it because I do want to have one of these to use. I use all my knives, but I like that this one, I'm not going to have to worry about it. It's just going to do just fine. And I do like the fact that it's got this like really dark bone covers. I guess it's just dark brown or some type of really, really dark red bone. I don't know what it is, but it looks almost black. But you can see a little bit of coloring here, but really dulled over time. And the blades, I mean, I think they're just really kind of beat up in terms of just color and you know, usually these came and they were typically they're like polished, but as you can see, these have just been, I mean, really well used, well worn because it's just like I call this like pocket worn, just completely. There's so many scratches that it's just basically taken on like a brushed look, which I actually prefer. I like that. But today I figure what we'll do is hang out a little bit, talk and chat, and I'm actually going to not waste a ton of time kind of jibber jabbering as I always do, but I'm going to break out again. I did a video recently about this. This is called Cape Cod cloths. It's for polishing just basically anything, metal, silver, gold, you know. But I actually really like it for just little around the house type stuff, but super nice for things like knives. I actually have used it on like I also collect watches, so you know, wrist check today. We've got the IWC uh, watch on today. I'm not going to get into the watch because it is kind of more of a knife video, but this is really great for just like buffing out little areas where you may just want to polish away some scuffs. But I like to use it on knives, so all you got to do is basically take out a little bit of this, and essentially I've already taken it out, but it just basically has little cloths inside, and I just cut them down the size because you don't really need a big, you know, you're gonna waste a lot of it. So uh, next thing you do is just basically take it to your uh, item and just polish the metal. I like to polish the metal first and kind of hit the bolsters up. And you can see already this was like completely brand new. This one's a brand new patch, and you can see it takes off the material right there. And I gonna go over to the other side, hit up the bolsters. I'm mostly gonna just hit up the bolsters today, and generally speaking I just usually do bolsters, and then I hit up the blade very rarely typically because I don't really necessarily want to polish the blades. I don't know. Depends on what you're trying to do. If you're like if you've got some patina you're trying to like take off, or some type of rust, then it's always a good idea to go ahead and hit that up. But for me, I usually go for the bolsters, and I like to go for the springs on the back, kind of bring those back. And again, it's not going to remove everything, but I think it does. You can see right away that it's kind of taking off some of that tarnish. And I'll hit the shield a little bit. And yeah, I'm also going to go ahead and do the bone handle, the bone covers too. You know, it's you know, it's not metal, but this stuff actually works really well for, you know, especially if you don't care that, you know, you're going to remove some material, or there's some, this is already an old knife. It's beat to shit already. So it's okay that, you're just going to remove a little bit off of it, and you can see that it's definitely taking off some accumulated um, some accumulated, I guess, grime and stuff off of the covers as well as the metal. And then I'll hit the ends here too while we're here. And the thing is, you want to get that out of the pivot when you're doing this later, because you don't want the residue from this just to grind away inside the pivot. But I'm not trying to get it inside that slip joint much. I'm just trying to get the ends here. And that's kind of what we're doing here. I've been getting into the Case Canoes recently because I just really like the way they feel in the pocket, and I really actually have noticed that I like some of the older ones, and maybe other people will feel the same. But I like the older ones because of their character. I've noticed that the bolsters are rounded. Um, if you look at this angle, they kind of have this rounded quality to them. The newer models, at least the ones that I've seen, everything is flattened down. So it kind of doesn't have this rounded nature. The all the edges are more squared off, which I mean, I guess if that's what you like. Um, I mean, that's what they're producing, but I'm just going to wipe this down real quick. This is just a regular, this is nothing special. This is not a cleaning cloth. It's just a regular, like a tissue. But I just wanted to get some of this residue off. And I'm purposefully just kind of going through the one side first just to see what kind of results we're getting here and if we need to do more or less. And it's quite possible that this is not going to produce any good results, and we may need to actually buff and polish this with something a little bit more substantial. So this is kind of like my go-to for general stuff, but sometimes, it's not enough. You really do need to polish it. But here's the example so far. This is the side. I haven't really focused on this side, but I have focused more on this side, and you can see, not bad, not great. I mean, it's hard to tell in this lighting maybe, but I think to me, I'm seeing that it definitely is a little bit more bright, more brilliant, more reflective. I think the bone looks a little bit cleaner, especially like right here in this corner. You're starting to see a little bit more light come through it, and that may be because it just removes some of the grime, so it brings out some color, kind of almost like a gem, like when it gets dirty, like a diamond ring, it begins to get darker. But when you clean it, it's not that you're changing the gem, it just brings out a little bit more of the character that's already there. But I would say it's definitely smoother. You can see like it's kind of more reflective, and the more you hit it with this, the more shiny it's going to get. But so far, I don't know. I'd say maybe let's take out the rest of this. We got some left, and I think I'm not going to leave it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to leave it half done, so let's continue on. I'm sorry if this is boring. I just figured I'd jump on and, show you guys what I would do normally. It's not the most, I guess, technically difficult thing to do, but it is part of like the maintenance, especially if you've got a worn down knife. I hit both sides here, and I do hit the ends again, and then the back spring area. And again, this sometimes works really good, and sometimes it kind of doesn't do much. And just like any polishing, it's more about repetition than it is, I feel like, pressure. And, it's hard to tell how much pressure I'm putting on, but it's really not much. I don't find that putting tons of pressure on there helps. The pressure really helps only getting um, the compound and the cloth into like the crevices. You do want to put pressure so that, especially when you have jigging like this, that if you can get in there and get some of the dirt and grime out. But for general smooth parts, you don't need to put too much pressure, but you do want to pass through as many times as possible. Like any polishing, that's kind of what I find helps. And you definitely want to hit the transitions to smooth those out. I think the bolsters is where you really see the most effect from the polishing, especially when you're talking about this kind of fine polishing. And then as you begin to refine it, you may want to think about going in one direction or the other instead of swirling. Excuse me. Oh man. Sorry about that. Had to take a quick drink. This is completely unedited. And it's probably not going to get edited. And now we're going to take on the blade. You always want to be careful doing this, especially since the edge can be sharp, obviously. This one's not. I purposefully did not want to sharpen this before doing all this work, just because it just makes it complicated. But when it's sharp, sometimes I'll put like a thin piece of tape right on the edge just to protect myself. But it's easier to do it without tape, to be honest. Excuse me. I've been kind of getting over a cough or a cold here in the household. And it's kind of one of those things where like my 7-year-old got sick, and then my wife got sick, and then I got sick, and then it just keeps on going. Anybody who's got a kid in their house knows that it pretty much goes like that. All right, looking good. And once we've got this done, and the one thing I've noticed about these canoes, these Case canoes, is that their etch for this, I guess the Indian in the canoe, it's a serious etch. Like we talk about etching these days, and it's really kind of like a laser that just puts it on a superficial level, or maybe just even just printing. But this is like a serious etch. I've noticed that it barely ever comes off, because it's in there. You can feel it when you put your fingernail across. So as much as I don't necessarily always like etching or billboarding or anything, there's really no way to get this thing off. You'd have to take off like a good piece of the metal to really, yeah. I mean, that's not coming off at all. It's there forever. So that's actually, that's actually pretty cool that they put that effort into it. Because there's, like I'm more familiar with GEC. Their etches, typically, if you run this, especially with the Cape Cod cloth, your etching will be very faint, and after a couple applications of this polish cloth, it'll be gone. So it's pretty cool that they Case makes these etches last so long. I mean, this is a 40-year-old knife, and that etch is not going anywhere. All right, guys. Appreciate it. If you're still around, thank you for hanging out. This is more of just me hanging out and kind of maintaining my knives. And if you're hanging out with me tonight, appreciate that. Hit a like, leave a comment. What do you guys do when you get a knife that's beat up? How do you maintain it? How do you... I'm actually curious myself, like what does everyone else do? For me, this is kind of an easy way to kind of bring back a little luster. It's not gonna take off too much material, you know. It's not like I'm putting this on a buffing wheel or anything like that. It's just taking off a little bit and kind of bringing back a little shine. And I also hit it a little bit right here. I'm trying to make sure I get this too, because sometimes people forget about this. You can bring back that luster in the brass liners on all the sides. So how's it looking? Not bad, not bad at all. All right, let's try to get another clean tissue. Wipe it down. Look at that. Look at all that. That's I mean, that's polished compound coming off of the cloth. But really what it is it's really material coming off of your knife. And like I've said before in my previous video, you know, if you have a knife that you really want to preserve, you don't want to be taking this cloth or any polishing compound too much to it, because you can remove... I mean, most people don't worry too much about it because there's plenty of material on the knife, but you are removing material, so you don't want to go hog wild every single time and do this, because I do think that you're going to remove more and more material, especially if it's talking about etching. You do not want to take that on to the etch. If you want to preserve it, you want to keep it as new, then keep that in mind. This is not for you necessarily. But if you want to just, you know, if you have a user and you just want to bring it back to a little bit of the shine and the luster that it was, this is fine. You know, this is a knife that is meant to be used. It's meant to be loved, and you know, feel free to use the Cape Cod cloth. All right, so far so good. I'm liking it. You know, it definitely brings it back on certain areas. Like this corner seemed to have done really well. This is not bad either. This is the side that I just worked on, and it definitely is more, I would say, shinier. And what I can do is bring it back to these are jeweler's pads, or not pads, cloths. You can get this on like anywhere, Amazon, but it's kind of a version of... You may have seen like sunshine cloths, which are also known as jeweler's cloths. And these cloths basically are used by jewelers just to clean up some of their, you know, like their jewelry, sold in different shapes and sizes. But these are like little ones, and I find that they're really nice for... I gotta get rid of these pencil shavings. But I find that they're really nice for especially the knife hobby, because knives aren't that big, and these come in a pack. Like I get them in a whole slew of little individually wrapped packages. And what's nice about them is you can use them, and as you begin to use them, they are, I believe, and if I remember correctly, there is a grit to these. It's like a small amount of compound, very similar to this is not a sunshine cloth, but it's very similar to sunshine cloth, which is this. This is a polishing cloth, and inside here is basically a little agent that is abrasive that will help polish. But this is a very similar type of concept, and it just seems like, to me, definitely less abrasive. So you can use this, and as you can see, this will be how it looks after a while. And once it's got compound that comes off on there, you can feel free to just, you know, dispose of it, because they come in a pack of like 50 or something. So I'll just have like a bunch of them. They come individually wrapped too, so they'll stay clean, and you'll feel it when you take it off. You'll feel this on your hands. There's like a little compound, and as you can see, the more I go back and forth on these, you know, if you remember before, we were talking about how dull it was, and now it's starting to It's starting to have that shine, right? Same with the actual knife. I'm going to close this up because I feel like we've done kind of enough for that one. And I'm just going to go a couple more times with this. I don't really do the blade too much because, like I said before, most of my blades, they end up being used. They have patina, and I kind of like it that way. I don't want to look at like a glistening, polished blade. But I do, strangely enough, conversely, I do like a nice, shiny um, kind of bone, especially if it's bone. I like it to be kind of, well, I wouldn't say shiny like polished, but definitely if it's bone, just to have a nice look, you know, like it's, I don't want it to be all dull and kind of all scratched up looking. I do like the bone to have a certain look. Here we go, guys. I'm just realizing now this is probably the most boring video of all time. I probably won't end up uploading this because I don't know who the hell wants to watch me polish a knife. But then again, some people, you know, I was I was watching some YouTube videos of not knife stuff, but apparently there are people that watch videos and fall asleep to them. Not sure I want to be known for that, but you know, if this is something that you want to do and fall asleep to someone yammering on about polishing knives, well, feel free. I'll see if I upload this because I just realized now it's probably the most boring video on YouTube. But it is, I mean, for those who haven't done this before, I know I didn't have anyone to watch. I just kind of did this on my own. Um, and it felt like it worked really well, so I just figured I'd share what I do. And again, I find with this cloth, conversely, it does help to put a little pressure on there just because you don't always get it in the jigging very well. And so it does help to get a little bit of pressure. And this knife, I'm finding that this knife is starting to look really nice now. I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, look at this. It was not that shiny like that. That looks almost brand new in some areas. You can start to see that the bone is starting to pop more, that it's more shiny. The shield is coming out really nice. And the thing is, this is just the first pass through. You could, in theory, if you wanted to, take it through a couple more times with the polishing cloth. And then you could do it again with one of these or with the sunshine cloth, which I think is a little bit more, it cuts the metal a little bit more. But there you go. What do you guys think? Sorry it took so long. I don't really edit, you know, I don't really want to get into all that. So I'm just going to upload it probably. So if you're watching this, it's probably unedited, full length, me droning on. But I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate all the comments. What are you guys doing to knives when you get pre-owned knives, used knives, or if you've got old knives of your own? Are you keeping them clean? Are you polishing, or are you just using them and leaving them be? Because I've got a little bit of both. This one, I just felt like I got this one in and I wanted to see what we could do to bring it back. And I'm happy. I think it looks great. I mean, it's definitely still a user, but it's got a different look now. It's definitely popping a little bit more. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment. I've been answering every single comment. I appreciate everyone that's supporting the channel, and it's been growing. So I appreciate everyone that's liked and subscribed. See you guys on the next one. Appreciate it. Bye.